Before she was a spy, before she was a civil rights icon, before France called her a national hero, she was a poor black girl born into segregation in America. Josephine Baker would become many things in one lifetime: a dancer.
She had her first husband at 13, 1-3, full-on child bride, but different times, I guess.
Speaking on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial at the March on Washington, the only woman alongside Martin Luther King Jr. Yet
Please, I don't have any time for any gossip now. Eh? Yes.
Look at it.
Do something with it.
It's just money coming to me easily. Money coming in and needing me. Money coming in repeatedly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me frequently. Money coming in to be with me. Money coming in secretly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me always. Money coming in all day. Money coming in all pay. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me frequently. Money coming in to be with me. Money coming in secretly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me easily. Money coming in and needing me. Money coming in.
Before she was a spy, before she was a civil rights icon, before France called her a national hero, she was a poor black girl born into segregation in America. Josephine Baker would become many things in one lifetime: a dancer, a millionaire, a movie star, a political activist, a war hero, and a woman who lost everything more than once. Her life was not a straight line toward success. It was survival, reinvention, and resistance. Josephine Baker was born Frida Josephine McDonald on June 3, 1906, in St. Louis, Missouri. Her early life was marked by poverty, instability, and the harsh reality of segregation in early 20th century America. She worked as a child, cleaning homes, doing laundry, growing up in a society that limited black women to invisibility. Racism and violence were not abstract ideas, they were daily realities. But Josephine discovered something early. Movement could change how people looked at her. Dance became escape. By her early teens, she joined traveling shows and vaudeville circuits, learning comedy, rhythm, and timing, skills that would later make her unforgettable.
She had her first husband at 13, 1-3, full-on child bride, but different times, I guess.
As a teen, she moves toward performance, first in the American entertainment circuit, then into larger shows that expose her to the machinery of fame. But in the United States, that machinery is chained to racism. The rules are clear: be entertaining, be invisible, and never outshine the room. She refuses that bargain. In 1925, Baker arrives in Paris, only 19, and steps onto the stage of La Revue Nègre at the Théâtre des Champs-Élysées. Paris is hungry for jazz, modernity, and rebellion. Josephine doesn't just perform, she detonates expectations. A year later, she becomes the face of the Folies Bergère era, immortalized by her banana skirt performance that the world can't stop talking about. She is marketed, copied, celebrated, and criticized, often at the same time. Paris' fascination with exoticism was real, sometimes exploitative, but Baker also flipped the gaze. She used humor, charisma, and control to turn what audiences thought they were consuming into something she commanded. Baker becomes one of the biggest entertainers in France: global tours, packed rooms, and celebrity friendships. Her image sells products. Her name becomes a brand long before influencer is a job title. She's not just paid, She's valued in ways America refused to value her.
The most famous performer in Paris, a spy during World War II, and the first woman to achieve global superstardom, Josephine Baker's story is too incredible to be true, and her legacy continues to inspire generations worldwide. Josephine was born in St. Louis into poverty, her childhood marked by work, hunger, and violence. By 14, she had already been married twice, and dance became her way out, first in vaudeville, then on Broadway in New York, where her comic style stood out. Freedom came in Paris. Arriving in 1925, she entered a city at the height of art and culture where Hemingway, Fitzgerald, and Picasso mingled, and fascination with jazz in Africa ran deep. At the Folies Bergère, wearing only a skirt of bananas, she transformed stereotypes into spectacle. The audience adored her, and within months, she was Europe's highest-paid entertainer, a muse to artists, a millionaire with her own nightclub, starring in films, and strolling the streets with a leopard at her side. When war broke out, Josephine used her fame as a weapon. She became a spy for the French resistance, carrying coded messages in her sheet music, gathering secrets at embassy parties, and risking her life across borders. When Paris was liberated in 1944, she marched with the Free French Army and later received medals for bravery. After the war, at a chateau Les Milandes, she adopted 12 children of different nationalities, her rainbow tribe, hoping to show that people of all races could live together as a family. She returned to the U.S. as an outspoken activist, refusing to perform for segregated audiences and speaking on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial at the March on Washington, the only woman alongside Martin Luther King Jr. Yet her fortune collapsed under the chateau's weight. From the richest black performer in the world, Josephine fell into bankruptcy, nearly losing everything until Princess Grace of Monaco offered her a home.
Let's talk about the enduring friendship of Josephine Baker and Grace Kelly. Baker, born in 1906, began work. Kelly, born in 1929, grew up with her father, who was a millionaire, and a mother who was the first woman to coach women's athletic teams at the University of Pennsylvania. Her uncle, Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright George Kelly, nurtured her burgeoning interest in acting, setting the stage for her future as an Academy Award-winning actress. Some of her most iconic films include classics like High Noon and Rear Window. The roots of Grace and Josephine's friendship took hold during an unexpected encounter in 1951 at the iconic Stork Club in New York City. Baker, who was there to receive the NAACP's Woman of the Year award, was refused service. Kelly, witnessing the incident, left with Baker in protest. Though versions of the story may differ, what remains indisputable is that their everlasting friendship blossomed that night. Kelly continued supporting Baker throughout her career and even funded the singer's comeback performance at the Theater Bobino in 1975, which marked 50 years of her career.
Baker tries to build proof in human form, a family made across race and nationality. Her adopted children often called her Rainbow Tribe. The message is radical and simple. Coexistence isn't a slogan, it's a household. But dreams cost money, especially when you're turning your life into a living exhibit.
Did you know that Josephine Baker had 12 children? Among the work that Josephine did in her life, her child advocacy work is sadly not very remembered today. When she was in her 40s and still childless, she decided that she wanted to adopt. Josephine Baker wanted to prove that children from all over the world with different backgrounds could still be a family. She began to adopt in 1953, and she called her family the Rainbow Tribe. She adopted children from places such as Japan, Finland, Colombia, France, Algeria, and so forth. Thanks to her fame, Josephine Baker could easily find go-betweens to help build her family at a time when the practice of inter-country adoption was not regulated on a global level. All of her children were brought up in accordance with their heritage and their religions. Later in her life, Josephine was struggling to make money for her kids, and she was constantly performing. Her lifelong friend, Princess Grace of Monaco, bought Josephine and her children a villa in France. Adoptions of foreign children saw an increase in France during the 1960s. One of Josephine Baker's most famous quotes is, "Surely the day will come when color means nothing more than the skin tone, when religion is seen uniquely as the way to speak one's soul, when birthplaces have the weight of a throw of a dice and all men are born free, when understanding breeds love and brotherhood."
I'm not even going to talk about my age because after all,
Jo,
my
ska jag spela-
age belongs to me.
Nej, jag ska spela vår gamla. How old are you?
64.
Terrific.
Yes, well, 64 years old. And sometimes I feel it and sometimes I don't. Well, I think it's like that with all people at a certain age. You feel it if you're unhappy or if you have troubles. And a lot of people in the world have troubles almost every day. And sometimes they're unhappy about them. And of course, you feel age. If you don't feel age, you just feel something is very
But
disappointing.
you're unchangeable, absolutely unchangeable.
That's what you say.
As the curtains closed on Baker's triumphant return to the stage, the world mourned her passing just days after that fateful performance. Kelly, now Princess of Monaco, stood front and center at her funeral, presiding over the burial of not just an icon, but one of her closest companions. Josephine Baker and Grace Kelly shared a friendship that transcended their remarkable achievements and endured life's ups and downs. Their genuine care for each other truly exemplifies the undeniable benefits of putting female friendship center stage.
2021, France elevates her again. Josephine Baker is honored at the Pantheon, a national symbol reserved for the country's revered figures, recognized for resistance work, civil rights advocacy, and cultural impact.
More than once, when I told people I was working on a doll of Josephine Baker, I was met with the response, "Who is Josephine Baker?" And I'm like, "Are you serious?" She was born in St. Louis at the turn of the century and started performing with a street troupe when she was 13, before vaudeville took her to New York and then Paris, where she almost immediately became a superstar, blending sex and comedy into a performing style that made Hemingway and Picasso fall in love with her. After a movie career and a stint as a spy in World War II, she returned to America a star, refusing to perform in front of segregated audiences and getting turned away from hotels, becoming a fierce civil rights advocate. So much so that after Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination, his widow Coretta Scott King asked if she would take his place as the leader of the movement. But after days of thinking about it, she refused. There was no way she could risk leaving behind her 11 adopted children without a mother. Now, I think you know who Josephine Baker is.